Welcome back to our Machine Learning Fundamentals course. In our previous lesson, we answered one of the most important questions in AI. We learned what artificial intelligence is, why organizations use it, and discovered that AI is actually a collection of different technologies working together. But there is something that confuses almost everyone who is new to AI. People often say artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, as if they all mean the same thing. But do they? Is machine learning just another name for artificial intelligence? Is deep learning something completely different? Or are they all connected somehow? By the end of this today's lesson, you will clearly understand the relationship between these three terms and you will never confuse them again. Let us begin. Before we dive into today's lesson, let us understand what we are trying to achieve. Our goal is not simply to memorize three new terms. Instead, we are going to understand how these technologies are connected. Think of today's lesson as building a mental map. Once you understand where artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning fit together, many of the topics we will cover later, such as algorithms, neural networks, and generative AI, will make much more sense. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to confidently explain the differences between these three technologies to someone else. That is a great sign that you have truly understood the concept. So let us start by exploring the big picture. Before we continue, I hope you're finding this course helpful and enjoying the learning journey so far. If you're getting value from these lessons, I would really appreciate your support. Please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your thoughts or questions in the comments. Your support helps us create more free, high-quality learning content for everyone. Thank you, and let's continue learning together. Let us take a moment to see how far we have come. In lesson 1, we discovered that artificial intelligence is already part of our everyday lives. In lesson 2, we defined artificial intelligence and learned what makes system appear intelligent. Today, we are taking the next logical step by understanding where machine learning and deep learning fit within the broader field of AI. Each lesson builds on the previous one. So by the end of this course, you will have complete picture of how modern AI works. Let us start with a simple question. Imagine you are developing software to calculate the total bill at the supermarket. That is straightforward. You simply add up the prices. Now imagine building a software that can identify thousands of different flowers from a photograph. Could you write a rule for every flower, every color variation, every lighting condition, and every camera angle? The answer is no, or at least not practically. Some problems become so complex that writing rules for every possible situation is nearly impossible. That is exactly why machine learning was developed. One common misunderstanding is that machine learning memorizes information. It doesn't. Instead, it learns patterns hidden within data. For example, imagine giving a computer thousands of handwritten numbers. Over time, it begins to recognize the characteristics of each number, allowing it to identify new handwritten digits it has never seen before. This ability to recognize patterns is what makes machine learning so powerful. The quality and variety of training data play a major role in how well the model performs. Before we continue, let's do a quick challenge together. Imagine you are teaching a young child to recognize different fruits. You want them to identify an apple correctly every time they see one. How would you teach them? Would you hand them a sheet of paper containing 50 detailed rules? For example, you might write things like an apple is usually round, its color may be red, green, or yellow, it has smooth skin, it grows on trees, it contains seeds inside. That sounds like a lot to remember, doesn't it? Or would you simply show the child lots of pictures of different apples? Most of us would naturally choose the second option. By looking at many examples, the child gradually begins to recognize the important characteristics of an apple. Soon, they can identify a new apple they have never seen before. They don't memorize every rule. Instead, they recognize the pattern. This is very similar to how machine learning works. Instead of programmers writing thousands of detailed rules for every possible situation, we provide the computer with many examples. That's one of the biggest differences between traditional programming and machine learning. Traditional programming depends on explicit rules. Machine learning depends on learning from examples. And that is why machine learning can solve many real problems where writing every possible rule would be extremely difficult or even impossible. Machine learning is particularly useful when the data changes constantly or contains patterns that are difficult for humans to describe with fixed rules. For example, spam emails change every day. Fraudulent transactions constantly evolve. People write the same letter in many different ways. Rather than updating software manually every time something changes, machine learning adapts by learning from new data. This makes it much more flexible than traditional programming for many real-world problems. Modern business generate enormous amounts of information every day. Sales records, customer feedback, financial transactions, support requests, sensor readings, and website activity all create valuable data. Analyzing these information manually would take far too long. Machine learning helps organizations discover useful insights much faster than humans could on their own. It doesn't replace business expertise, it supports better and faster decision making. That is why machine learning is now used across industries, including healthcare, finance, manufacturing, retail, and education. Machine learning has become one of the most important technologies behind modern artificial intelligence. Whenever a system needs to recognize patterns, make predictions, or continuously improve its performance, machine learning is often involved. As AI applications become more advanced, machine learning provides the ability to adapt and improve using data rather than relying solely on manually written instructions. In the next lesson, we will explore the relationship between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, and understand how these technologies fit together. Let us take a moment to reflect on what we have learned in this lesson. We began by understanding the limitations of traditional programming. Traditional software works well when we can clearly define every rule, but as problems become more complex and the number of possible situations grow, writing and maintaining those rules become increasingly difficult. That is where machine learning comes in. Instead of following a long list of manually written instructions, machine learning learns by analyzing examples, discovering patterns in data, and using those patterns to make predictions or decisions. We also explored how this approach is helping solve real-world problems across many industries, from improving customer experiences and detecting unusual activity to forecasting demand and supporting better business decisions. This is one of the key reasons organizations around the world are investing heavily in machine learning. It enables them to make faster, smarter, and more data-driven decisions in an increasingly complex world. Now that we understand why machine learning is important, we are ready to answer another question that often confuses beginners. People frequently use the terms artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning as if they all mean the same thing. But are they? In our next lesson, we will clearly understand how these three technologies are related, how they differ, and where each one fits within the broader field of artificial intelligence. I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you all.